I guess when this film was first pitched or when it was first advertised, they said from the director of National Lampoon's Animal House, people are thinking they're going to see a comedy. And when they sit down and they see the first werewolf attack, holy shit, this ain't a comedy, this is some real shit. Alright, y'all, welcome to another episode of Tit for Tat with my man Anthony A. Perez. He's going to be joining me once again. We're going to be reviewing American Werewolf in London. And before I continue with the video, if you haven't already, subscribe to Anthony A. Perez. I'm going to put the link in the description. Check him out. He talks about movies like myself. He's close to 1,000 subscribers, so hook my man up. Go to his channel, check him out, and subscribe. American Werewolf in London. You know what? Okay, during this video, you're probably going to hear planes outside. They got this air show going on by the airport where I live at, and they got fucking Top Gun going on out there. So if you hear a bunch of, that's the damn airplanes. That's a bad sound effect, I know. All right, so look here. I feel guilty. I feel like a fucking Grinch because this is Halloween season, and in the month of October, I've only reviewed 2 Halloween movies, well, 2 horror movies, and that's this one and Fright Night. I feel terrible. My plan was to review as many horror movies as possible. I watched a lot of them, but I haven't reviewed them. But then again, fuck it. Y'all don't really watch them anyway. I think Fright Night got like maybe 50 views or whatever, so maybe the same thing's going to happen with this one. I don't know. Like that's just what my channel is. When it comes to watching, you know, reviewing certain movies that nobody cares to hear me talk about them. That's why I stopped talking Star Wars, because nobody cares as much as I love Star Wars. But anyways, y'all, let's get to the movie. American Werewolf in London. This is an old-ass movie, so I'm going into spoilers here. If you haven't seen this shit, just stop it. You know, watch it, come back, let's talk about it. This is the holy grail of werewolf movies. In the 80s, werewolf movies were huge. All right, you had this one, The Howling 2, which was god-awful, Silver Bullet, Teen Wolf. They even did a werewolf movie that had to do with the Red Riding Hood story. I don't think I've ever watched that one. But werewolf movies were huge back then. And somewhere along the line, they just stopped making them. You don't even really see them anymore. But this is the holy grail of them. American Werewolf in London is it. Now, originally, I wanted to do a versus where I talked about this one and The Howling. I was going to compare the both of them. But, you know, due to some technical difficulties, we couldn't make it happen. But, you know, fuck it. We're going to talk about this one. But if you ask me right now, versus Howling and Werewolf in London, I give the edge to Werewolf in London. But I love The Howling. Don't get me wrong. I really love the movie. But there are elements of the movie that's really dated. There's a couple of transformations that look kind of animated. And you can tell it was, you know, it's a product of its time. But you watch Werewolf in London, the effects still hold up to this day. My big brother and I, we got into this argument because he was saying that the effects don't look as good now. It looks kind of cheesy. I said, you are smoking a special brand of crack. No, the effects still hold up. The practical effects still hold up, especially if you compare this to American Werewolf in Paris. No comparison. When you hear the transformation, when the bones are crunching and shit and the fucking faces protruding, I still bought it. Big brother tripping, man, but he getting old, you know, big brother getting old on me, so let me stop talking shit. So yeah, y'all, just a brief synopsis here. Okay, this is a simple story of these 2 friends. You got Jack and David. They're in London. Well, they're in England or whatever. Well, London, England, same shit. And they're just strolling around, you know, checking the scenery out, and they get attacked by a wolf. Where and Perez talks about this later, which I thought was funny. So yeah, Jack gets attacked by this wolf. He's getting fucking mutilated, and David takes off running. He just left him. You know, that's some bitch shit. But at the same time, what the hell is he gonna do? Like, it's a fucking wolf. Of course, you're gonna get the hell out of Dodge, man. So yeah, he ran and then thought about it. Oh shit, my man's getting messed up. Came back, Jack is all fucked up. And throughout the movie, Jack keeps coming back to David. You know, because he's in limbo, because being that David got bit by the wolf too, how's it go? Jack can't die until David dies. But so Jack is almost like his conscious, and he's telling him, look, man, you're going to become a werewolf. Okay, before that werewolf serum kicks in, kill yourself. And that's the only way that I could die. Because other than that, I'm stuck in limbo. And as the movie goes on, you see him decomposing worse and worse. And the makeup is just brilliantly done by Rick Baker. He is the MVP of this movie. I think Perez says this too. He's the MVP of the movie. And I think, yeah, this was the first ever not special effects, but makeup Oscar. This one, the first ever Oscar for makeup effects. All right, Rick Baker, the fucking man. You deserve a round of applause. Shit, the makeup was so good. Michael Jackson even watched this and says, who is the man that's responsible for this? I want to hire the whole crew, the director and the whoever did the makeup. I want them now. Well, Michael, we probably can't afford them. You're fired because you don't believe. Yes, can you get them? Sure, Mike, we'll make it happen. Cool. And Thriller was born. So if it wasn't for this movie, we would not have had Thriller. That's how crazy this shit was. And this was back in 81, so I can imagine, like, watching now in 2020, it still holds up, but I can imagine watching it back in 1981. I bet people was freaked out by this shit. And not to mention, this was directed by John Landis, who is known for the Kentucky Fried Movie, The Blues Brothers. He's known for comedy. He's not known for horror. So I guess when this film was first pitched, or when it was first advertised, they said from the director of National Lampoon's Animal House, people are thinking they're going to see a comedy. And when they sit down and they see the first werewolf attack, holy shit, this ain't a comedy, this is some real shit. But there is comedy throughout the movie. Okay, if you go on IMDb and look it up, this is categorized as a horror comedy. So the parts that's supposed to be funny, it is funny. But the parts that's serious are really serious. So it's a perfect blend of comedy and horror. But that's good because you go to horror movies that have fun. You know what I mean? So when you're not being scared, you're laughing. When you're not laughing, you're scared. And that's why this movie was such a great time. But look, I'm already 6 minutes into this shit. So I want to get to what Perez has to say about this. Then I'm going to come back and get my final thoughts on this movie. So Anthony Perez, the floor is yours. What do you got for American Werewolf in London?
Rashad and all his viewers. Once again, my friend, thank you so much for having me in another video to talk about another movie. So sorry that it took me so long to get this video to you. This is actually the second time that I'm filming this video because the first time I filmed it, you said we were going to change it up and do something different, and then I took too long, and then things got a little bit messy, and then I ended up deleting the other take, so I got to redo it now. So I'm going to jump straight to the point. I'm assuming that you guys have already talked about the plot and all that jazz by the time I'm talking. I'm just going to get right into my thoughts. An American Werewolf in London, one of the most iconic films of this era, one of the most iconic and memorable horror films of the 80s, and also, without a doubt, one of, if not the best, werewolf-centric films. This film is so much fun. It's such an entertaining horror film. Going back and revisiting it, it's not necessarily a scary movie, but there's a lot about the imagery that sticks with you, and a lot of it just has to really do with the biggest person to praise from this movie, and that is Rick Baker. I think even if this movie had a poor story and poor acting, I think without a doubt what Rick Baker did with the special effects and the makeup in this film stands alone on its own for something that you can just alone be impressed by. This film is visually incredibly iconic, and there's so much about this film as far as the makeup and the practical effects that really holds up. That iconic scene of him transforming into a werewolf in this film always sticks with me, and it reminds me of a few years back when Halloween Horror Nights, Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights, actually had an American Werewolf in London house, and they have a sequence where you can actually walk through the room when there's somebody actually transforming into the werewolf with the bodies already elongated, and I really enjoy that part of the haunted house, being able to see the actor on the other end. Obviously, the practical effects there aren't nearly as good as what you have in this movie because it's made for a movie, but I remember that moment being really something that stood out to me, and it's probably the most scared that I've ever been in any one of those haunted houses. And not necessarily because most of the house was scary, but at the very end, there's a huge animatronic of the werewolf from this film that pops out of the wall, and it is beautiful. It looks just like the one from the movie, and you really don't know how you're going to react to that thing kind of lunging at you until you're there face to face with it. And when it popped out, I'm not gonna lie, I jumped and screamed pretty high pitched. So it was definitely a really standout moment for me, and always makes me think very fondly of this movie and the imagery of this film. So that alone is something to praise without a doubt. Beyond that, the cast in this film does a really great job, and the movie knows what it is. It's a film that is very light in a lot of ways. Going back and rewatching it, the music choices at certain moments, the film is actually quite funny a lot. It's a good blend of horror and comedy while also just being an entertaining drama at the same time. I love the fact that at the beginning of the film we're introduced to our main character and his friend, who will go on to be one of the main characters of the film, but not as much as you would think. David and Jack. David is our main character, and I really enjoy his character throughout the course of the film. He definitely drives the entertainment factor of the film, and he plays this character very, very well. But I enjoy that chemistry between him and Jack, and it is a shame that Jack gets taken out so early in the movie. But speaking of that, one thing that was funny going back and rewatching it is, like, when they first get attacked by this creature, Jack is clearly on the ground being destroyed by this thing screaming, but David just takes off, and it's not until like 30, 40 seconds later when my boys made it like 15 yards away that he's like, oh no, Jack. And when he comes back, Jack is destroyed and ripped to pieces. And I'm not necessarily thinking that David really could have stopped this werewolf from killing Jack or killing him, but at least he could have done something. He just left his boy to die, and he was literally screaming bloody murder the entire time. So revisiting the movie, that was definitely something that was kind of funny, that stood out for me. But yeah, beyond that, I think this movie is still very well acted. It's very well written. Of course, like any movie from the 80s, specifically horror, there are moments of dialogue and delivery of this dialogue that's definitely a little bit cheesy and a little bit dated, but I still really thoroughly enjoyed the film. It's well paced, it's entertaining, and I had a smile on my face for a majority of the film. I never really felt bored watching it, and it was just a fun, great film with great imagery. I would say my biggest negative going back and revisiting it was the whole romance element of the film. You have the David and the nurse character in this film that I feel like he was flirty with her, but she, as a nurse, you know, she's seeing this guy go through all these different things. She doesn't know what the audience knows, that he actually was attacked by a werewolf and why he's having these visions and why he's being visited by his friend Jack and the other people that he's killed as he's become a werewolf. But the thing that's just strange to me is that she just kind of buys into it. And she pretty much tells him at one point in the film that she just finds him incredibly attractive, and that's just kind of what's driving her attraction for him. I think even at some point he says that he loves her in the film, and all that just kind of felt like it was a little bit rushed for me. Their relationship just kind of feels like a patient who was kind of flirty, but a nurse who's literally witnessing this guy going through things, and her viewpoint on it is that, oh, you just went through this traumatic experience and this is why you're having these terrible nightmares and these visions and all these different things. But she just chooses to be like, hey, come back and stay at my place and let's shag all night. So that was something that I thought was kind of funny. But I do enjoy that actress who plays the nurse in this film. I think her name is Jenny Agutter? I don't know how to pronounce her last name. But yeah, I remember her specifically from Child's Play 2. She's the foster mother of Andy Barclay in that first film, or the second film I'm saying. But yeah, I really did enjoy this film. I enjoyed that cast for the most part. Like I said, there are some elements about it that are cheesy and dated, but for the most part I had a good time with it. So sorry it took me so long to get this video to you, my friend. A big thanks again to you, my friend, for having me in another video. And I look forward to the next one you have me checking out, which is Tales from the Hood.
My man, now you see how I do you? I give you good stuff to watch. You give me Halloween Town. Damn it. But yeah, man, I appreciate you checking this movie out, man, and joining me in this video. Once again, if you haven't already, go subscribe to Anthony A. Perez. He's close to 1,000 subscribers. He's a very insightful critic. He knows how to break movies down. Now, I really love watching his reviews and seeing his views on movies. So check him out, Anthony A. Perez. The link is in the description. So y'all, not to take much more of y'all time, because I'm going to be releasing this video on Halloween. I know a lot of y'all want to go get your candy and dress up and shit. I don't have any costumes or anything. I wanted to do something special to commemorate this special day. But, I mean, I got a Flash shirt on, so does that count? I guess I'm the Black Flash for Halloween or whatever. I'm so corny, fuck it. But yeah, y'all, American Werewolf in London is a classic. It's one of the best horror movies of all time. Is, like I said, the perfect blend of comedy and horror. John Landis directed the shit out of this, and I think he went on record to say that this is his favorite movie. And the actor that played David before this, he did Dr. Pepper commercials. And from my understanding, Dr. Pepper fired him after he did this movie because there was a scene where he was nude. Well, he did a couple of nude scenes, so Dr. Pepper fired him. I don't know what else he did with his career, but look, if anything else, you'll forever be known as David the Werewolf. And to that real quick, okay, when you watch a movie like this, you know, you get anxious to get right to the werewolf scenes because it's in the title, so okay, we want to see the werewolf. Now, you don't really see the werewolf until about an hour into the movie. So prior to that, it's the constant dreams. Okay, there's even a dream with these werewolf Nazis that come and attack that kind of scared you. There's a scene where there's a bed in the forest and you see him like, you know, almost in werewolf form. So they tease it and they still entertain you. So by the time the transformation does come, you don't feel like you've been cheated. You feel like, holy shit, like I've been enjoying this movie and now this is the cherry on top. When you see that first transformation, that shit to this day holds up. I don't care what my big brother says. And then there's another transformation in the when he's in the porn theater, which you really don't see. You just see him start to change, but then you see the wolf in its full form. And that shit was crazy because you see him walking around and everything, and he's snapping at everybody, and the movie was just ill all over. I have zero complaints. No pacing issues. The writing was good. The scares came when they were supposed to. The humor hit on every note. You know what I mean? As far as the characters go, like, you know, they're not really great characters, but you don't watch these movies for the great characters. You watch it for, you know, the scares, the effects, and somewhat good acting. And that movie gave you all of that. So fuck it. Anyways, y'all, I'm gonna give American Werewolf in London a solid A. The holy grail of werewolf movies. If I rank them, Werewolf in London, The Howling, Silver Bullet, and then Teen Wolf. It's my top 4 werewolf movies. Alright. It's a shame we couldn't do The Howling. I may review The Howling later on because I do have it in my collection, but I just haven't, you know what I mean? We couldn't review it, so I'll probably do that. I'll do that later on. But yeah, as far as this one goes, fucking classic. Alright, if you haven't seen it in a while, watch it again. I guarantee it holds up. So anyways, y'all, that's all I got. American Werewolf in London gets an A. Perez, thank you once again for joining me in this video. I hope everybody has a happy Halloween. Eat plenty of candy for the adults. Drink plenty of liquor. And play dress up with your significant other. And try not to get in too much trouble. That's all I got. Anyways, y'all, if you like it to the content, hit that like and subscribe notification bell in the corner. This is Rashad G signing out. See you in the next video.